Hello, how are you? This is Craig Beck, the Stop Drinking Expert. And it's very early in the morning. It's like 6 a.m. here in Cyprus. I'm still on my first cup of coffee. But today we're going to talk about staying sober, not quitting drinking, but staying sober and avoiding those secret trapdoors that are all over the place that you might not even know are there, that can throw you off the sobriety path and throw you back into the hands of the evil clown that is alcohol that lives in your head. All right. Just a reminder, if you're new here, if you're worried about your drinking, don't be one of the vast majority who just sit on the sidelines going, yeah, I'd like to do something about it, but do something. Because nothing happens until you make a move. Go to the website, stopdrinkingexpert.com. Lots of free options there. If you just want to have a look around, you can do the webinar. There's loads of articles and advice. If you scroll down to the bottom of the page, it says blog. Go on that. I update that really often. Just get on over there, put it in your favorites, and make sure you start this journey today. So the reason I'm talking about this today is I got an email from Sean. It's quite a word salad here, but I'll kind of summarize it for you. Basically, he's 6 weeks sober. So congratulations, Sean. And what he's looking for is some advice for that specific part of his journey. He's been sober for longer than the kick. He's over a month. He's there at that 6 weeks point. And what he's saying is, Craig, what should I be looking out for? What are the dangers at this point in the journey? It's a great question. And I don't think we've talked about it very often. So let's do that today. All right. There are some unexpected trapdoors and tripwires waiting for you as a newly sober person. And they're in places that you wouldn't maybe expect them. So let's talk about what can happen. Now, I'd say that the biggest danger with doing it my way, doing it without using willpower, is when the penny drops, it becomes so easy to quit drinking. And that runs kind of against the grain. It's counter to what we expect to happen, because it's counter to what we have experienced when we have repeatedly tried to use willpower to stop drinking. We've hated it. It's been horrible. We've had to white knuckle it. And our experience of getting sober in the past has been horrible. So when you do something differently, when you do my course and I explain to you how it works, and then you just stop drinking, it's so easy and so painless, you start to make some erroneous conclusions. As time goes on, and the more time goes on, the stronger this gets, you start to look back with rose-tinted glasses, and you start to ask the question, maybe I never had a problem at all. Well, I stopped so easy. Just that one day I was watching one of Craig's videos and I decided I'm not drinking anymore, and I stopped drinking. Maybe I never had a problem at all. And that's a dangerous statement to make to yourself, because the next thing you're going to say to yourself is, I wonder if I can just have one drink to be sociable, just to have that one glass of champagne at the wedding, just to have that one free gin and tonic on the business class flight that I took. And that's why when you do the course, I talk about the 5 most dangerous words you will ever think or say in your life. And they are, just one drink won't hurt. And what I advise you to do is, if you ever hear that in your head, you ever hear yourself saying, oh, well, just one drink won't hurt, punch yourself in the face as hard as you can. In that moment, don't hesitate. Just punch yourself, because it's going to save you a lot of pain. That thought is going to lead to 3, 6, 9 months of misery. It's not just one drink. It's up to a year of absolute downright low mood, depression, self-loathing, misery. It's awful, because you have that just one drink. And let me tell you what happens next. If you've got any period of sobriety behind you, especially if it's like a year, you'll take that one drink and you'll notice something. You'll notice you don't like the taste of it. In fact, you'll find it repulsive. You'll go, ugh, that's disgusting. How did I ever used to like that stuff? Right? That's what you'll say. And you won't have another drink and you'll feel all happy and you'll conclude that you're cured. You'll say, I don't even like it anymore. So you'll feel encouraged to have another one, safe in the knowledge that you don't like it anymore. So you can stand at a party with a glass of wine like those miraculous people who can just have one drink. You can be one of those people and you'll stand with your glass of wine. I'm telling you, you will be back into the cycle of heavy drinking within a week. You will be back at the exact same level of drinking you were when you desperately tried to stop a year ago. This is how the illusion is played, all right? So just watch out for that. This is kind of unique to my course, that euphoria you feel after a certain period of time where you conclude that it was so easy that maybe you never had a problem at all, and you start contemplating the 5 most dangerous words on planet Earth, all right? So that's the first thing. The second tripwire I want you to be aware of is the good intentions of other people. Now, that might sound strange and back to front. It's not so much the narcissists and the sociopaths and the other problem drinkers in your life, because you can spot them a mile away. When you stop drinking, certain people that you thought were friends are going to turn on you. And they're going to say that you've changed and you're no fun anymore. And what a shame what's happened to you. And they're going to layer it on thick and hard, right? Why are they doing this? Is it true? Have you changed? Are you boring now? No. What has happened has got nothing to do with you. It's to do with them. Drinkers, problem drinkers, like social proof. We like safety in numbers. It's an illusion. There is no safety in numbers, but we like it. We like to be able to look around the room and see people we admire and respect and rate, they're intelligent, doing the same thing that we're doing, because it validates our destructive behavior. If we can point to David, he's a doctor, and there's Neil, he's a lawyer. They're doing it, so it can't be that bad. Now, if you're David or you're Neil or you're Sally or whoever you are, and you stop drinking, you remove that social proof. You remove that illusion of safety in numbers, because now the intelligent person that the drinker respected is no longer drinking. So therefore, they lose that safety net. And this causes them psychological pain. Now, nobody correctly labels it. None of these problem drinkers are going, "Ugh, David's made me feel psychological pain. I hate him." They're feeling pain and they're responding in the default way that human beings do. And human beings respond to pain by one of 2 ways. One, they make a change so the pain goes away. Or 2, they just make the cause of the pain go away. And that's the easier option. That's the path of least resistance. So it's much easier to get you drinking again than it is for the problem drinker to admit that they have a problem and take action. So this is where you find people you thought were friends suddenly turn nasty with you. And you might be shocked at the level of their nastiness. But these people aren't the problem, because you can see them coming a mile off and you understand why they're doing it. You know, I worked in a radio station in the northwest of England, and there was a lady who worked in the sales department there, very heavy drinker. And when I stopped drinking, she was not happy. She was not happy. At the Christmas party that year, she was staring daggers at me all night. I could feel her as staring at me from across the room. And eventually she had enough to drink. She came over to me and she said, "You're ruining this." I said, "Excuse me?" She said, "You're ruining the Christmas party for everyone." I went, "Okay, how am I doing that?" She said, "Well, you're the director. You're a leader, and you're not drinking. You're just acting like a boring accountant, and you're stifling the atmosphere. Nobody's having a good time, and it's all your fault. People expect you to be leading the merriment." So was I upset? No, because I kind of knew where that was coming from. I know why she was saying that. Yeah. So these people are the ones they're not the stealth tripwires that you need to worry about. That's why I said this, as it's the good intentions of people you need to be watching out for. And that is people like your best friend, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your partner, your husband, your wife, right? Because what they don't understand, if they don't have a problem, is just how miserable alcohol was making you. So it'll be Christmas morning and everyone's drinking champagne. Everyone's having a glass of something, and you're sitting there with a Coca-Cola or a water, and your mom will see you and she'll think, oh, she's missing out. And she'll come over with a glass of champagne and she'll say, here, have this, don't tell anyone. And she'll think she's doing something nice. She'll think that you're in pain and you're missing out on the merriment and the joy. And she'll think that she's doing something nice. And she'll go on, just, you can have one, go on, I won't tell anyone. And because someone you love, someone you trust has done it, your defenses are down and you go, yeah, okay, and just have one. And trust me, at that point, you've crossed the line and you are now into the territory of months and months of self-loathing and disappointment and despair and misery. All right. You know, there's hundreds of stories of things like this. I coached a lady from Tampa a few years ago. She'd just been to rehab, spent $80,000 on rehab, was there for 6 weeks, inpatient treatment, came home. Within half an hour of getting home, her husband poured her a glass of wine. She drank it. $80,000 wasted. It's not the people that you can tell coming. It's the ones that you didn't expect it from. And they're not doing it because they want to trip you up. They're not doing it because they hate you. They're doing it because they love you. And they presume that you are now miserable without the thing that you seem to love so much. And this happens with, this is not just about alcohol. This is just human behavior. You know, my mom used to do this. When I was in my kind of 30s, I was putting on a lot of weight, and I used to go and see my mom, and, you know, I didn't see her, like, maybe I saw her a couple of times a year. Every time she saw me, she'd say, oh, Craig, you've got fat. Oh, you look terrible. You need to lose a bit of weight, son. I'd say, yeah, I know, Mum. And then she'd come and I'd walk into the kitchen and she'd give me a big piece of cake, and, you know, a massive piece of cake. That it's, you know, food is love, alcohol is love, giving is love. And that's why these people are doing it. All right. So that's just one thing to watch out for. Watch out for the good intentions of other people. The other things to watch out for are chinks in your armor. All right. They're moments of deep depression, deep despair. There are moments of trauma in life. This is when you've got to be on your guard, because the longer you stay sober, the weaker and quieter that voice gets. The evil clown will always be a tenant in your head because you invited them in. They've got squatters' rights. They're not leaving. They'll always be there. But as long as you don't feed the clown, he or she will get very quiet, very weak, very pathetic. And it will get to the point where you hardly ever hear them whisper. They're so weak, you hardly ever hear their voice. But this evil clown will save whatever energy it's got for the moment when you are at your weakest moment, when it's got the most leverage on you. All right. And it will come out of the blue and it can catch you off guard, and it will appear to be very logical. All right. I can tell you when it happened to me. I'd been sober 5 years at this point, 5 years. And it had been about 3 years since I'd had a dream about alcohol, since I'd actually thought about alcohol. I can't remember the last time I even considered having a drink. And my ex-wife, the mother of my children, died unexpectedly. And it was one of those moments in life that scars you, gives you trauma, gives you PTSD. It's just an awful moment in life to get that phone call that you weren't expecting in the middle of the night with the news. And so I flew back to England for the funeral. And it was that awkward period in between the death and the funeral. There's like a week, 10 days when nothing happens. That's how it is in England anyway. And all the family had gathered, but everyone was off doing their own thing. People were gathering together in little small pockets. I was on my own. My kids were with their friends being consoled. I was on my own, and I was walking through a shopping mall. And I was feeling really depressed, really miserable, just awful. And I suddenly got this voice in my head, and it was the clown. And he said, Craig, you don't need to feel like this. There's a supermarket there. Just go and buy a bottle of whiskey. All this goes away. And I actually stopped. I stopped frozen in the spot in the middle of this busy shopping mall, people bumping into me. I was frozen because I was so shocked where it came from. I was like, where did you get the power? Where have you been? And I wasn't angry. I wasn't tempted. I was impressed. I was genuinely impressed. I was like, wow, how did you do that? You waited till this moment. You're a genius. It was so impressive. And I stood there for a few seconds, just absorbing it and seeing what it felt like. And then I carried on walking. But it really shocked me. It came out of nowhere. Now, in those moments when you're really depressed, it's easy to lose sight of what's really going on. It's easy to lose sight that it is, a rogue tenant living in your head. In those deep, depressing moments, maybe a relationship has ended, someone has died, you've lost your job, you've had some bad news. You can forget that this voice is your enemy and you can start thinking it's your friend. You get fired from your job, you go home and you sit in your apartment on your own and you think, yeah, I don't want to be present. I don't want to feel like this. You're right. If I drink the liquid, this goes away. But as we know, it doesn't, does it? It just magnifies it and delays it. So you lose the short-term pain, but the price you pay for that is significantly more long-term pain. And that's why I always say that using alcohol to cope with moments of trauma, bad periods of life, is like going to a loan shark to deal with your debt problem. And yes, it's true. If you're in debt and you can't afford to feed yourself or your children, going to a loan shark is a solution. You go to a loan shark, hey, presto, you can now feed your kids. Brilliant. Does that mean your problem is improved or made worse? Of course, it's hideously more worse now, because now you owe much more than you started with, and you're in a very bad situation. And that's alcohol to a T. Alcohol will take away your short-term problem and replace it with a massively more significant long-term problem. All right. So I hope that helps. There's some tripwires and trapdoors to watch out for that will pull you off the sober journey and throw you back into problem drinking. 3 great ones to watch out for. They are very powerful. They're very easy to fall for. Be advised, be forewarned, and avoid them. All right. If you're worried about your drinking, you know what to do. Get on over to the website, stopdrinkingexpert.com. Thanks a lot. See you in the next episode.